Hi, everybody. It's Karen Sullivan with lifehealthmore.net, and I'm coming to you today from my kitchen, which I thought would be kind of fun since I'm talking about bloat and what that is and where we get it. We usually get it from things in the kitchen, from the food that we're eating. So anyway, I'm going ahead of myself a little bit. Let me back off and say my webpage and all that I do is at lifehealthmore.net. I also have that YouTube page that's just my name, Karen Sullivan, and some people use Karen Philly Sullivan, which is my maiden name, and that works too. So I am a personal trainer. I live outside St. Louis, and I am here to bring you some great stuff. Those of you who have been following me for a while know that I have a lot to offer. And so I would like to talk today about bloat. And so you have a problem of going along through the day and all of a sudden your pants get really tight after a meal and you're feeling really uncomfortable and there's this distension and the swelling in the abdomen. And so a lot of times people think, well, it's just I ate too much or I just feel a little unsettled. Well, the thing about it is that sometimes it's actually, I think 1 in 10 people have a problem or an issue with getting bloat. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you, but that it has to do with issues with your digestion. Hi, Rona. That's Rona. Sorry, I got my bifocals on. I can't read. So anyway, hi, welcome. So what I wanted to talk about is like, what are the symptoms? And you have the stomach that's distended. You usually have a lot of indigestion, a lot of belching, a lot of gas, which comes out the other end, and symptoms of pain and discomfort. Well, there are primarily 3 reasons. Now, I'm not talking about, I will later in this session talk about some of the more serious issues that this could be, but it's usually because we have overeaten. Yeah, you get all excited, you go back for seconds and sometimes maybe even thirds. Then the other thing is that the food that you're eating is very rich. It's either really super fatty or, well, rich is fatty, or it's got a lot of spices in it. And that sort of a thing can cause this gastrointestinal problem. Or you eat too fast. A lot of people eat quickly. I'll admit it, I do. I have a really hard time pulling back because I was in the food service industry for so long, and as a waitress, you literally got 15 minutes to sit down and eat your food. 15 minutes, that was it. That set the pace. I started doing that when I was in high school, and it's been since, that's the problem. Now, the other things that can cause the gases is if you're swallowing air. Some people do swallow air when you're anxious, when you're upset, you're breathing and you will swallow the air. It'll go into your stomach instead of just into the lungs. Now, other things that can cause that is if you drink out of a straw, if you chew gum, that's possible. And this I didn't realize is that you sucking on hard candy can do it. Interesting, huh? The other thing is chugging carbonated beverage, though that will cause bloat. It's not so much the carbonation in the beverage as it is you're swallowing as you're drinking, okay? All right, so here we have the issue of, being all bloated. And sometimes people talk about it as, kind of a joke, and my belly is all distended and look at me, or look at Joe and he looks like he's pregnant. And truthfully, this is really not a joke, because when the intestinal tract or the stomach and then down into the intestines, if the precedent is set in the mouth, and if you're not chewing the food correctly, if you are swallowing air, if all those things so that your food cannot be digested correctly from the stomach, then on through the colon, okay? So you want to make sure that you are being conscientious of eating food slowly and chewing your food completely so that it can be digested. Because what does that do? That's your nutrition. That's your nutrition. That's what keeps you alive. That's what keeps you going. So you want to try to be conscientious about that. Okay. Now, there are other things that can be more serious problems that you can have. The one thing that's not a disease, well, I guess it is. It's a fungal infection, which is called candida. I went through that when my little boy, he's 25 now, and when he was a baby, we had a problem with candida with him, and it showed up in diaper rash. And I went to a fantastic doctor who, pediatrician, who was a nutritionist also. She was phenomenal. And she had me go and put him on a regimen of supplements. And it helped to clear that up. The other thing that we had to watch, we couldn't let him have, watermelon, because he was wanting to eat massive amounts of watermelon. He was about 6, 7, 8 months at that point. And so that did take care of it. Now, what happens with adults, and see, as a baby, the only symptom I had was that he had this diaper rash that was just red and sore looking. It was just horrific. And, but it's a fungal infection that can cause bad breath. You would crave sweets. And I guess maybe that's what he was doing, because he wanted watermelon. He had discovered it and thought it was the best thing in the world. And he wanted to eat it all day, every day. Also, there are hormone imbalances that are going on in your body. And another symptom is chronic sinus problems, infections, or lung issues. So candida can be a serious thing, because whenever there's an imbalance in the system, then you know it's not working, it's not digesting correctly, and you're not going to get the nutrients from your food. So I'm just saying, when you're bloated, that's another symptom. When you're bloated and funky and you have some of these other things, take a look at what's going on, and you need to change what your diet is, okay? It's really not a joke. You need to try to handle it. Now, Thanksgiving dinner, we usually end up overeating and we get all bloated and everything. That does not mean that there's a problem at all. It's the holiday and that's what people do. Is it right? Not for me. I choose not to do that, but you need to discern what's best for you. Now, there are two ways. Well, let's first talk about the more serious issues that they can be. You can have also, when you have chronic bloating, when you need to go to a doctor is when it doesn't stop. When you have a high frequency of like every meal, every time you eat, that it's the problem. That's when you need to go see a gastroenterologist, okay? The guy who's the gut guy, who's going to look at your whole colon, your system, and everything. Now, especially very important, if you have vomiting or pain, make sure you go to have it checked out, because you could have a blockage of some sort in there. So don't just fall into the habit of thinking, well, I got this, I ate too much, or I don't do really well with this spicy food. Take a look at it, okay? Now, if it's not that bad, and if it's just an occasional thing, this is what I would like to recommend. This is how you might handle it. First, you have to get your digestive system and understand what's going on in there. And I talk about this all the time. I talk about it in my book, The Zen of Weight Loss, and the Perfect Food Plan also discusses it. So you want to make sure that you are eating the foods that your body can digest. That's why a journal is so important. You want to write down the food that you're eating, analyze later how you feel, and chart it and watch it and graph it. But in a journal, in a spiral bound notebook, no big deal. You just write it down, because you are not going to remember what you had and what your reaction was to it later. I've told this story a lot about my experience, especially with dairy. And I can eat, I guess it's sort of maybe the processed stuff. Like I can have cheese, hard cheeses. I can eat cottage cheese or yogurt and I do okay. But I can't go beyond that. I mean, I can't even think about milk and forget about ice cream. I don't know what it is, if there's a combination of the sugar and the cream in it, but wow. And it's not lactose. It's casein, the casein that's in it, and anything else that might be a part of it. But boy, bad. Lactate, that didn't help. Does nothing. So I think that remembering how sick I got made me realize, well, I don't want to eat that anymore. So that's the sort of way that you can try to discern what's going on. If you're adding fiber into your diet, let's say you're trying to get healthy and everybody says, don't forget your fiber, eat your fiber, eat your fiber. You have to discern what kind of fiber you can eat. Grains give me the same problem that milk does. So I don't do that. I have my fiber through my vegetables. Okay. So you have to make sure that you know what you're doing. Also, very, very important to try and eat lighter when you're trying to figure this out, so that you can, you can eliminate the foods that you think are going to be too heavy in your stomach. Don't start this at Thanksgiving, in other words. And it's really important to try to get some help in your digestion. And I recommend a cleanse. I will talk about that at the end of the month, on the 30th, when I do my webinar, and it's the Perfect Human Diet. And so what is the perfect human diet? And I'll be talking about that and the cleanse. I am going to put a link on here for a product that's a probiotic and a prebiotic that are really fantastic, and they will help to stabilize the issues that are going on, because it puts the microflora, good, healthy microflora, back into your body that will help with all those gases and everything. Now, I was talking about this program that I'm doing and in my classes, and I have a lady that's in my class who has been a flight attendant for 40 years. And she said, oh, they always get this flight bloat, and it's just something that happens all the time. And so I did a little bit of research, and understandable. It has to do with the cabin pressure, and the cabin has been, and it happens with people who are on the plane too. Your ankles swell when you're sitting there. It's not just from sitting there. It has to do with the cabin pressure. The cabin pressure is not what the pressure is normally on your body when you're on the ground. It's just not. But you'll get the swelling in your ankles, and your waist size will suddenly be a little bit larger, and your pants seem tighter when you get off the plane, and it's from that. Now, a flight attendant gets it worse because you might do, a 2 or 3 hour flight, hop, skip, and a jump. They're usually working for a week at a time, 12 hours on a day, or more. So the whole crew, it's not just the flight attendants, but the crew in the cockpit too can have this issue. And that's what it has to do with, well, as the pressure changes, then the gases, the blood gases, the carbon dioxide and the oxygen, they go into the body too. So that's where it increases. It's just doesn't have the pressure from the planet, the way things normal are, and then those gases will go into the body. So the recommendation I would give is to make sure that you're eating foods that are easily digested. So, fruits and vegetables are really good, but I would stay away from like breads and meats and cheeses and stuff, so that you're having something that has high fatty content and that would bother you. And then eat something after you're not going to fly, or after, when you get to your destination. And that might help people who are traveling too. So I'm doing all that. I'm thinking there are some symptoms occasionally of bloat with people who have Crohn's disease, as I understand it in my research. So those are things that if you have not been diagnosed, I'm telling you guys, if your frequency of having issues with bloating is very high, don't let it go. Don't act like it's only food. Take a look, eliminate some things from your diet, and then get yourself to the doctor if it's something that you feel like is happening way too often. So if you have questions, please do me the favor of writing comments. Make the comments. I'll get back to you. I'll do additional research. I have an incredible science team behind me through my affiliate company, Shackley, and I can call and speak with them. They've got like 137 published papers, and I'm sure there is something on digestive health. So I would be glad to look that up for you and try to get you some answers. In the meantime, I would love for you to go to my page, lifehealthmore.net, and sign up to get my weekly blog. It will come right to your email. And also there is an advanced training on there that you'll be able to get videos and things that are not on YouTube. They're not here. You can't get them anywhere, only when you've subscribed. And then these videos will also be on YouTube. Please like me, and give me thumbs up and comments. I love to have feedback, and I will get back to you. I see a whole lot of people who are on here today, and I so appreciate it. So I certainly hope that you leave some comments for me. Thanks very much, and I'd be glad to help you. Take care now.